You know, if you come to St. Augustine, I always in my services by doing a simple request. And that is for you to leave all your troubles, your fears, your would-haves, your could-haves, your should-haves, leave all that stuff outside. And for the next 45 minutes or so, maybe longer if I get on a roll here, to open up an avenue of spirit possibilities in your life. And what are spirit possibilities? We're there for more love, more joy, more happiness, more prosperity, more health, all those things in life that make us feel alive, because that's what Spirit is doing through you and through me, showing up in the physical, recognizing itself through our love, our joy, and our laughter. So know you're in a great place this morning, and Spirit is going to recognize and reward you abundantly, and something amazing is going to happen because you have opened yourself up to the greater possibilities. So I have to tell you that my dear friend, Reverend Gretz, has been a friend of mine for a long, long time. When I first met him, I used to have more hair and more black hair when I first met him. Lots of it, actually. And he's not only a friend, he's a spiritual mentor. He has shown me in so many ways how you can courageously live from knowing that Spirit is with you and leading you. Last night when I was at the reception, I had a memory of a story he shared with me about his daughter, and I thought I would share it with you this morning. This was back before she was married, and she was actually going to college, and she was looking for scholarship money. She wanted to go to journalism school. And to do that, she was entering beauty pageants. Well, she didn't have enough money to get into this one pageant, and she needed several outfits, like 5 outfits. She didn't have money. So what'd you do? She called Dad up. And so Paul said, well, baby, come on over. I don't have much money myself, but my mom has given me $50 for my birthday. Let's go to TJ Maxx and see what we can do with it. So they went to TJ Maxx, and he said that as he pulled into the parking lot, he just spontaneously hollered out, "Help us, Jesus. Help us, Jesus." Ministers do that kind of thing in our lives. If you live with us, you get used to it. So they got into TJ Maxx, and he said it just looked like they had just unloaded all their pageant, like somebody had just dumped all their pageant clothes right there at TJ Maxx. And he says they were getting outfits for $8, $7, and they were getting one outfit after another. There was a Hispanic worker, a store manager there. He saw they were having so much fun that he came up to them and asked what they were doing. And so they told them that we're needing to get these outfits. We got a tight budget here. And so he started helping them. He looked Julian over and he says, well, she's kind of small. She might could fit into some girls' sizes. They got a couple of more. Then he realized, he says, there's a really beautiful outfit on one of the, what do you call that? The mannequins, that's what that is. Thank you. Thank you for that assist. So they took it off the mannequin, fit perfectly. So they got up to the register. They were ringing everything up. It came to just a couple of dollars over what they had. So the little guy told him, says, wait a minute now. Says, there's a super duper TJ Maxx discount I can give you if I get the manager out. The manager comes out. He sees how much fun they're having. He puts in the super duper discount. It gets them under the amount they need. Everybody's happy. They're bagging everything up. They're headed out to the store. Paul hears the manager say to this young Hispanic guy, he says, I tell you all the time, you're so good with customers. You've got to start wearing your name tag because otherwise, Jesus, they're going to never know who you are. To me, that illustrates the whole purpose of our teaching. It's about to be in relationship with Spirit. That's why you are here. You are here to know that you've got this power with you, guiding you, giving you suggestions and hints, lighting a path for you. That's why you are here. It's available to every single one of us. And that's what my talk about is today, the prospering heart. It's based on a unity minister, Catherine Ponder. If you have never studied her, she really focused on prosperity. She was an amazing woman. She was a Southerner. She started her first New Thought church in the 50s in Birmingham, Alabama. Bless her heart. Now, she had sense enough to get out of Alabama, and she eventually ended up in Palm Springs, I think. And she had a huge church out there, and she had wrote many books. Her basic theme for her whole ministry is that if you live a life of love, you're going to be supported. You're going to be cared for. If you don't have love in your life, it does not matter. You're not going to be happy. And there are big illustrations of this throughout history. The one that I used is a really sad person, although she was probably was one of the greatest fortunes of all time. Her name was Barbara Hutton. Some of you my age may remember her. She was heir to the Woolworth fortune. The Woolworth fortune, at one time, Woolworths was basically what Walmart is to us today. They were all through the nation. They accumulated so much money. Strangely enough, Atlanta had one of the last Woolworths open. It was in Ansley Mall, if you remember. And you could go to Woolworths and you could get underwear, you could get a hammer, you could get an ice cream sundae, and walk out with a parakeet. I mean, how fabulous is that? So this woman had more money, probably she inherited the biggest fortune for any woman in history. She was just unbelievably unbelievably wealthy. It did not make her happy a single day. And she tried everything she could. She married every European loser, royal, that she could find. She went through husbands like I go through frozen pizzas. One of her husbands was Cary Grant. Remember him? The movie actor. She married him. He probably was the only person who didn't take advantage of her. The others just robbed her blind. She bought jewelry like it was candy. She owned pieces that had belonged to Marie Antoinette. There's a famous picture of her, and she's got it's called a tiara, but in my mind it's a crown that she bought from one of the Romanovs, the people who ruled Russia. And this thing, it doesn't have diamonds in it, it's got these huge rubies. And rubies are way more valuable than diamonds. She's also wearing the 40-carat Pasha diamond. 40 carats. What do you do with something? Where do you wear that to? She wasn't happy at all. She was on drugs. She went through the whole fortune, and she ended up dying alone. No family, no friends, just servants. And when they did the autopsy on her, it was revealed that the servants hadn't taken good care of her. She died dehydrated. She didn't get the care she needed. Now, the opposite side of that story is one of my mom's friend, a very humble person, a very loving person. Her name was Annie Laurel King. And Mrs. King, she was raised in the Depression. She married a guy 16 years older than her. She raised a family of 5 kids. He died early on, and when the kids left the house, she moved back to her hometown, which was a little city in Macon. It's called Payne City. It's where the cotton mill was. She moved back to the house her family was raised in. Her kids did it up to be like a little dollhouse. She decided she would run for mayor of Payne City, and she won. And that year, she was the oldest mayor elected in the nation. Matt Lauer interviewed her on Good Morning America, and he got her age wrong. And she corrected him on national television. And thereafter, Matt Lauer sent her a birthday card every year. As she got older and her health failed, I would go visit her. And she says, Ken, they're just always trying to help me. They built her a ramp. Her kids bought her a hover-round. She tried to pawn it off on me because she swore she wasn't going to use it. you couldn't park in her parking lot or her front of her house for more than 15 minutes, then the neighbors would be over checking on her to make sure she was okay if they didn't recognize your car. And she would tell me, she says, Ken, she says, they're always bringing me casseroles. She says, go get 2 or 3 of them. Not one, mind you, but 2 or 3. Take them, I don't need them. Now, what she did, because I thought about her a great deal, and you couldn't help being around her and not feel better. You couldn't help it. She did what Catherine Ponder called prophesizing. She would prophesize for your good. So when you were sharing your troubles with her, she would say, oh, baby, don't worry about that. She says, I can imagine you've got a friend who's going to come and bring you a job opportunity, or you're going to meet somebody. Now, of course, I could never just hear my good and accept it. I'd have to always argue with her. And she would say, don't do that, Ken. She says, this or something even better is coming your way. She was prophesizing, my good. She was using new thought, and she didn't know new thought from Adam's apple. So this idea of prophesizing, it kind of came to me. I was reading at Catherine Ponder. Catherine Ponder says that's what we should do. We should prophesize for our good. We should prophesize for the good of people around us, friends and family, and even strangers. Now, you don't have to run up to them and say, I'm going to prophesize for your good. Do it in your own thought, and do it for as many as you can. Become a center of God's love and God's blessing. If you do that, you're going to be supported. You don't have to worry about your 401. You don't have to worry about the price of gas. You become a center of God's blessing for yourself and those around you, and Spirit is going to take care of you. So I had been reading this stuff, and unfortunately, for me, it's a spiritual practice. I don't always live up to the practice. I have to remind myself to step up to it. The day that I had read the book, I was running late. I had to get home to fix dinner. I wanted to run into the grocery store that has a self-checkout, because I can go through a self-checkout like a professional. I mean, I can breeze through it. I got in, and there was a woman in front of me. She had 2 kids. One was a baby. One was about 6 years old. And she had a basket full of groceries. And, of course, the 6-year-old was trying to help her. And she would take an item, and she would scan it. And then she'd look at the basket, and she'd pick another item and scan it. And at first, I was really irritated with her. You know, it's like, why didn't she go through the regular checkout? And then I realized what she was doing. She had a budget, and she was buying the essential stuff and was planning to put the rest back, and that's what she did. And so instead of being angry, suddenly I was moved to compassion for her, and I decided to prophesize and to see her having an easier life, seeing her get the kids home and fed and into bed, see her having a little bit of extra time for herself and having maybe better opportunities coming by. It was as if Spirit wanted to give me this energy or this questioning maybe of how to help people around me, and not just prophesize, but how can we as a church help people around us? Because that's what we try to do in St. Augustine. We have many missions that we try to help people around us. We try to step up and to be that resource from Spirit that we're called to be. One of the things that we do is the Elizabeth Clare Fund, and it's based on our former minister. And when she transitioned, she asked that we help women in need, in transition. And so what we have been doing is giving scholarships for women who are in the shelters fleeing violence. When they leave, they have about 60 days, and when they leave, they get no more assistance. So we've been helping them get scholarships to go back to nursing school or to get some other additional training. But it's been a little bit more too difficult for us because we have to vet them. We have to make sure that they're, able to get through school. So it hasn't worked out for them. But seeing this young woman going through the grocery line made me think, well, maybe we could get them food assistance, because that's a really critical need right now, just paying for groceries. And maybe that, if we give them a little food assistance, that will help them out. And maybe they won't go back to the abusers, because in most times statistics are that's what they will do. And it's because they don't really have any other good options. And so maybe this will help them a little bit. Someone on my board said, how do we know that it's going to help any of them? We don't know. But we're doing what we can. That's all that's asked of you. You do what you can. Then you turn the rest over to God. It's God's universe after all. We're just here doing our part. So do what you can and turn it over to Spirit. And then it's like the Buddhist teacher. The story of a Buddhist teacher. He's walking along the beach. The beach is covered with starfish. He reaches down, he picks one, he throws it back out into the ocean. His student questions him. He says, "But Master, you can't save them all." And he says, "No, I can't, but I saved that one. That one I saved." So I had this energy coming into my life about how to help women getting out of shelters, fleeing violence. Also, I had another kind of current of energy coming into my life, and it had to do with uncles and nephews. I am an uncle to two nephews. They are just a couple of years younger than I am, and they didn't live close to me, so I really didn't see them grow up. And honestly, I didn't really think I had much of a relationship with them, because by the time they came along, both my parents knew what buttons to push with me. And the button they could push for me was that I wasn't a real boy. I wasn't a real boy, and I was a disappointment to them. Not only a disappointment, I was an embarrassment to them. And so when the boys would come by, my father delighted in pointing it out to me that they were real boys and I wasn't. So I just tried to stay invisible. I didn't try to, because anything I did was likely to be pointed out and criticized. So I just stayed in the background. And so honestly, as we became adults, I didn't think I had any kind of relationship with them. I didn't think I had made any impact on them. Now, the oldest one has done very, very well. He's a multimillionaire now. He came through St. Augustine during COVID with his wife in an RV, and I went out and had dinner with them, and I showed them around and showed them the center and showed them what we were doing. And the next week, we got a huge donation in from him, a huge donation. His mom, who I was very close to, my oldest sister, she was 16 years older than me, she made her transition 2 months ago. And he asked that I come out and do the service in West Monroe, Louisiana. And it was very tough. It was very tough, but, they wanted me to come out. I was going to do it. I came out and I did it. I did the best that I could, and just wanted to inspire them. For me, the biggest thing is just to encourage people to know that their loved ones are still with them, that Spirit is loving and kind, and that they're still alive in Spirit. So I was doing the Sunday service 2 weeks ago. Normally, because my career had been in politics, I worked in Washington, so I kind of got the politician blood in me. So normally when on a Sunday I'm out meeting people, greeting people, nobody comes into that congregation that I haven't met and talked to. But that Sunday something was odd. I don't remember. I was in my office. Somebody had an emergency. Maybe we had run out of decaf coffee, or people forgot to buy the snickerdoodles. There was some crisis. And so I wasn't able to get out. I get out to the stage, and I'm looking out, and I think I see my nephew. But I can't really be 100% certain because of the light, and I don't have really great sight. And I didn't want to call a stranger out as my nephew and to make that mistake. So I didn't. I held back. But after the service, I went right to him, and it was him. And I just grabbed him and held him, and I just broke down. I just broke down, and I'm not really sure where that even came from. me that he wanted to come to the center. He wanted to see what I was doing. And he also told me that his plans were that after he settles his mom's estate, that he's donating all that money to our center. And when he said that, it dawned on me why Spirit had showed me that young woman, that we could use that money to help women in need. And so we're going to change the name of the scholarship program, not to just the Elizabeth Clare, but Elizabeth Clare and Reba Lawrence program, so we can help people. So Spirit had sent me this energy so I can make that connection. Later that night, we were supposed to get together the next day, but I got home, and for some strange reason, I could not sleep at all. I could not close my eyes. I was awake when we turned the television off to go to sleep. I was awake when the alarm clock went off. And in my household, if I get up, everybody gets up. I've got a little 14-year-old Pickapoo who sleeps under the bed next to me. She gets up. Then my partner gets up. We have a little puppy, Sheltie. She gets up, and then it's just havoc. So instead of getting up, I listen to YouTube videos on my cell phone with my earbuds. And what is the video that I just happened to hit upon? It was a story about an uncle and nephew. And the story was about this nephew. He is an Israeli commando. Not just an Israeli commando, he teaches the Israeli commandos how to be commandos. So first of all, if you're in the Israeli army, you're a tough cookie. If you're teaching people who are in the Israeli army, you're the toughest cookie. So this guy, the way he trained his people, he said, you get a mission. You focus on that goal. You don't turn back from that goal. You do not give yourself excuses. You accomplish that goal that you have in mind. He was out on a training mission. They had built up a sand dune, and he was to charge up the sand dune. Unfortunately, the sand dune was constructed under these high electric wires overhead. When he got on top of the sand dune, the electrical wires arced and sent a bolt of electricity down through his body. And when that happens, your body catches fire from the inside out. So his students grabbed him. They got the helicopter to him. When he got into the hospital, they kept him in a coma for 3 days. They brought him out of the coma, and they told him, they said, look, we're hoping to save your legs. We're hoping, we can get you back to some kind of normal. But it's going to take a lot of work for you to do this. And he told him, he says, you don't have to worry about me. He says, I know how to accomplish this. He says, I tell my students, you get the goal, you focus on it, you don't give them excuses. So he said that when they would come in and they would say, do 10 leg lifts, he would do 50. And he amazed all the doctors with the success he was having. It got to the place that he was about to be released from the hospital back to just a regular physical therapy center. The night before, the doctors came in to visit him. His team of doctors came in. And one of the doctors spoke up and said, people in your condition normally have infection over 60% of their body. But you're lucky you only have it over 5% of your body. He gave him a subconscious negative suggestion. You have to watch out for this, because that happens a lot to us right now. News media, politicians, pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, they're giving us a lot of negative suggestions. So the next morning he woke up with 40% infection over his body. They came in and told him, we can't release you. You got to stay here. He said when that happened, he said that it just took all the fight out of him. He said he just gave up on it all. He wouldn't do the exercises. His students had been coming to see him, and he wouldn't let them in. He wouldn't see them. The students told him, he said, it doesn't matter. We'll stay in this hall and we'll pray for you, but we're still going to come and see, we're still going to come here and support you. So he was just wasting away. His family had a patriarch, Uncle Sasha, and Sasha was the patriarch of the family. Everybody loved Sasha. He was the guiding light of the family. He was in his 80s. He had a heart condition, and the family had not told him about the nephew's health, so the uncle didn't know. Accidentally, the uncle heard about what had happened to the nephew, and they said the moment he heard about it, he dropped everything he did, and he was on his way to the hospital. The family couldn't hold him back. The family got on the phone and they called the nephew. They said, look, Sasha's coming. You've got to fake it. You can't let him know how bad off you are because it's liable to kill him. So he's hung up the phone. He said the moment he hung up that phone, he saw Sasha walking past his hospital door. He had gotten confused and he was looking for the room. And he said he knew he'd be back in the room in 5 to 10 seconds. So he grabbed hold of the arm rails over his bed. They used to do the exercises. And he began to do pull-ups. Suddenly, Sasha comes into the room. And the uncle tells him, he says, I hear you're in a bad place. He said, I wanted to come see you to check on you and to let you know I love you. And he told him, he says, Uncle, you don't need to be here. He says, you see, I'm working. He says, I'm going to get better. He says, I'm going to come see you. Don't worry about me. I'm going to come see you. And he says, I'm working out, Uncle, so I can't talk to you very much. The uncle left and he collapsed back in his bed. But he said from that point on, he was determined. He was going to live up to his promise. He was going to see the uncle. He was going to go see the uncle. And he did accomplish that. He went on to have, he's had a family. He got to full health. And he said it taught him a lesson that you just can't depend on discipline and vision alone. You have to have love. You've got to get through this life because you love someone. He says when you love someone, they will help you break through the boundaries. They will help you move past the limitations you've taken on for yourself. They will help you accomplish things that the world tells you you can't accomplish. Now, dear ones, we've been through a challenge. The night has been long. The storm has blown hard. But there's a new day dawning, and it's up to us to help bring about that new day. And Spirit is counting on you. None of us are by accident. We all have been called by name from stardust. There is something for each and every one of us to do. You have something to accomplish. You have a miracle to bring forth. God has faith in you, and I have faith in you. You are here to bring about the blessings and love and compassion of Spirit, and only you can do it. This is the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. So I close my services with an affirmative prayer, and that's what I would like to do for us today, even though I know the service will go on afterwards. But I'm going to do this prayer in the first person. Take it in for yourself. If I say something that works for you, hold tight to that. If I say something that doesn't work for you, just let that part slide by. But just know this truth with me today. There's but one God, one mind, and one power. That power is perfect love. It's divine intelligence. That power has called me by name from stardust to be exactly where I am here today. So this morning, in the sacred place, filled with all these wonderful, loving souls, I choose to know a better idea for myself. I choose to see myself as God sees me, not as weak and wounded, not as shackled by fear and doubt, but alive with the spirit of love and compassion and kindness. This morning I lift my eyes to a better knowing for myself, for my community in this world, This morning, I choose to see this world evolving to a new heaven and a new earth where sisterhood and brotherhood reign over all. This morning, I choose to believe that the goodness and kindness and compassion of God can reign over us all. And this morning, I leave this place inspired. I leave this place encouraged. I have thrown off the shackles of fear and doubt and lack and limitation, and I am stepping up and I am stepping out. Spirit has called me by name, and this morning I'm saying yes to it all. This is my truth. Every cell of my being radiates this right knowing. And I release this prayer into the mind of God to do its good and perfect, bold and dynamic work, returning to me multiplied abundantly. And together we say, and so it is. All right, dear ones, I'm going to leave you with one last thought. Your life. Your life. It's not a problem to be solved. It's a miracle unfolding. Your job this week is to go name your miracle, proclaim your miracle, and make it your own. God bless us all. Now let us go be the miracle Spirit is calling us to be. This is Reverend Ken wishing you many blessings until we see each other again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that motivational message, Reverend Ken. Now we're going to do our affirmation of abundance. We would do it through voices and instruments of celebration. City of Light is a thriving community that is experiencing the abundance of God. We are growing and flourishing because we believe and practice the teaching of spiritual truth. As we give and receive, we join now in the divine flow. We know that all we share with life returns to us multiplied abundantly, and so it is. Ushers, please come forward.
on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as my center, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my solemn vow. Take each other and live each other in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins in me.
Also, those who are with us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, if you would like to give, you go to our website, www.cityoflightatlanta.com. And then also, I forgot to tell you, there's also a, what's it? Facebook app in front of the program. And you
The QR code.
A QR code. There you go. QR code. And I want to thank everybody who has participated in our service today. Thank you, Ms. Hart, and thank you, Voices. And I want to thank the ushers. I want to thank Multimedia, and I want to thank the Dr. David Carter. And so, and after service, just join us out there in Friendship Commons for refreshments and coffee. Thank you very much.
Each day, each moment.